VSiN's, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show, only on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Getting you set for all things Week 7 on the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show. Welcome back in live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Just got a couple quick updates from Adam Schefter on X with some active players and inactive players, if you want to throw that up on the screen. Active today, Aaron Jones is back. Kenneth Walker III, who is dealing with an illness this week, will be out there for the Seahawks for his 24th birthday. Ray Davis, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, and Josh Downs, those questions we were just talking about with the Colts, they are all activated. Inactive, however, Will Levis, starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. We will see Mason Rudolph today. Jameis Winston also inactive for the Browns. Yay, more Deshaun Watson as expected, because that's been going so well. Alongside the MVP, Rich Gannon, Stormy Buonantony with you as we welcome in live at Circa Resort and Casino, the owner of this establishment, Derek Stevens. We're going to talk Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and of course, just like how the house is doing. We had a crazy college football day yesterday, and let's bring it into the NFL.
Yeah, it was a great day yesterday. Vegas was terrific. Things were popping, and as we go into this morning, I'm expecting to have a real strong day. I mean, so far volume's been heavy. I kind of like these early games. It gets things going a little bit. So we're off and running.
Speaking of which, though, real quickly, you just made an observation for this Patriots-Jaguars game, though, that I think the people should know at home.
It's 4th and 1. You're up 15. You could ice the game by kicking a field goal. I realize it's 4th and 1 on the 5, but this changes the game. And they didn't kick the field goal. They did not convert. They got nothing out of that drive. And then the Patriots just drive right down, and they're within the 2-score scenario. So I just don't understand that play call, why they didn't go up by 18. They could have locked it up. Well, anyway, Patriots come down. They then go for 2, don't convert. So Jacksonville's played a little bit lucky on the way this fourth quarter's played out.
We've got bad coaches, we got bad players, we got all that in that game. Derek, let's talk a little bit about what's I'm so fascinated with this Circa Survivor, down from more than 14,000 entries to where are we at right now?
Yeah, last week wasn't bad. We went from 221 down to 216. So we've got 216 Circa Survivors going into week 7, Rich. 2 of the 216 are chilling out right now because they had the Thursday night game with Denver, so they're hanging out and feeling good. They've already qualified for week 8. The major selections are the LA Rams as the number 1 selection, which is a little bit surprising to all of us that was the number 1 selection. Then it was Washington, Buffalo, and Jacksonville as 2, 3, and 4. We really thought Washington and Buffalo would be the 1 and 2. We were a little surprised that the Rams ended up being the most selected team in this week's Circa Survivor.
I think that speaks volumes about how people feel about what's going on with the Raiders right now. They're a team that was struggling. They traded away their best offensive player. Their defense hasn't played well. I mean, things are kind of falling apart right now in Las Vegas.
And it seems like the betting market as well has continued to go up on the Rams today, too.
Yeah, it absolutely has. You're absolutely right. This is definitely a play against play because of what's happened with the Raiders all week long. And we've seen it, like you said, we've seen it in the betting markets because from where we were early on until now, it's been all Rams money. All day. We opened it at a 5, went to a 6, went to 6.5, 6.5 double juice, went to a 7. So it's been all Rams.
What other games have you seen a pretty significant way where it's been like one-way action toward this team that you've had to move off a few numbers?
Yeah, we had to move off with the Bills. We've seen Bills money that came in. So Bills currently at a 9. The biggest move though has been the Commanders. Commanders, we were at a 7.5. Went to an 8, blew through the 8, 8.5, 9, blew through the 9. Now, 9's not the strongest number in the NFL any longer, but we're at a 9.5 right now on the Commanders. So that's effectively the point spread favorite of the day.
Derek, I'm a little disappointed that you don't have your Honolulu blue suit on today. The Lions and the Vikings are getting after it. This is kind of the game of the week. Everyone's so excited about this matchup, a battle for really supremacy. in the NFC North. This is a tight one, and obviously no Aiden Hutchinson. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I mean, this has been tight. This is going to be obviously the premier early game of the day. And it's been great action, and it's been a lot of two-way action. This history now in the last few years of the Vikings-Lions has become really strong, and I don't really know that either team would have much of a home field advantage because some of these games have been really unbelievable shootouts of late. If we've seen anything, we've seen money go to the over, which kind of makes some sense. The Lions secondary, not the strongest. You're not going to get that pressure without Hutchinson. Probably opens up the opportunity for a high scoring game. Probably opens up the opportunity for a lot of people to take these offensive overs on rushing yards and receiving yards and things like that.
I teased the Lions up paired with this New England Patriots teaser that I have. So hold on, Patriots. So I have a chance to put this thing together where we sit right now. But you are, like Rich said, like you are dialed into this Detroit Lions team. In terms of the Aiden Hutchinson loss, big picture, long-term this season, how significant is this?
Well, I think it's very significant. But at the same point in time, it just changes the scope of how they develop the defensive game plan. So, there's oftentimes with the amount of pressure that Hutchinson provides, it changes the way I think a team focuses in on how they're going to go after the Detroit Lions defense. Right now, it's the secondary is where Detroit Lions defense has had this trouble. So they've had to pressure with Hutchinson more often than normal. I think it just changes the dynamic. This is still a heck of a football team.
Yeah, I think it also changes the dynamic of how teams like the Vikings prepare on offense, right? When you're talking about putting the passing game together, it always starts with protection. How are we going to handle Aiden Hutchinson, who leads the league in sacks and pressures and hurries and knockdowns? And so that's a big part of it as well. Let's talk a little bit about the quarterback position, Derek. I'm always interested when a team decides to make a quarterback change. The Tennessee Titans are saying it's because of injury. They're going to go to Mason Rudolph today. I don't know that it makes a lot of difference against the Buffalo Bills, but what have you seen with that line in that game because of the quarterback change?
Well, I think probably, if you're looking at today, I think the market is showing that they think Mason Rudolph is a better choice than Will Levis.
No question.
So sad.
No question.
I mean, the line came down when this got announced, so that kind of tells you where you think. Now, obviously, the future is Levis, but as far as today goes, the line went from 9.5 to 9 based upon this quarterback move.
7 interceptions for Will Levis. The pick sixes, it has been ugly, certainly. So we'll see how things shake out there. Another quarterback change due to someone getting healthy. Russell Wilson in the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to step in against the Jets in that spot. What's your perspective on that game, that decision, and what's the market telling you?
Well, market's telling us that you're seeing some Jets money. Now, some of this may also be impacted by the fact that Devontae Adams is going to be playing. But we've had a favorite change here, Stormy. I mean, we opened the Steelers as a favorite, a 1-point favorite. By Tuesday, we flipped, and the Jets are a 1-point favorite. Now we're all the way up to a 2.5-point favorite. So we've seen pretty big money overnight, all coming in on the Jets. So currently, Jets are at 2.5. So I can tell you that doesn't really bode well for the Russell Wilson fans necessarily. But is it really is it the move off of Fields to Russell Wilson, or is it Devontae Adams?
Yeah, it's a tough one because you look at that Jets defense; they've been very good, not only in terms of keeping the scoring down, but also getting pressure on the quarterback. Derek, I want to talk about two of the great young quarterbacks in our game. I think our game is healthy because we're developing good young quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love in Green Bay. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a shootout. We had John Hansen, the guru, on. We're talking about some prop bets and some fantasy numbers. I just think both these quarterbacks are going to put up some big numbers today. What's the action been in this one?
Well, you're right about that. We opened at 46.5, went to 47. 47 is a key number, blew through that. We're at 48. And there's a pretty good chance we're going to be moving this a little bit higher. So I think everyone's really in agreement with you. I think there was just a little bit of concern wanting to make sure you could verify what the weather was going to be like in Lambeau Field. But I think everything looks good. Everything looks clear from what I've seen today. So I don't think we have any weather-related issues. And I agree. The market indicates it's going to be a high-scoring game here.
A lot of Packers love as well. You see those pro picks, best bets, a lot of Packers -3 sitting there, just Adam Shine rolling with the Texans plus the points in that spot. I also wanted to ask you about the Super Bowl rematch coming up today with the Chiefs and 49ers. You mentioned with the Lions-Vikings game, the two-way action. Is it a similar situation in a game like this with two big franchises?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be, obviously, that is the signature game of the day. That's going to be the game that gets wagered far more than any other game today. It's been a little bit of two-way. We got all the way up to a 2 on the 49ers yesterday. I'm sorry, on Friday, but it came back down to 1.5. So it's just kind of going back and forth. I think there's a little bit of concern with who is Patrick Mahomes going to be throwing to and how that's going to play out. But I think so far it's two-way, and right now 49ers 1.5 is kind of where it's zeroed in.
Yeah, two quarterbacks that can run for first downs. I was doing my research, and you look at the numbers of both Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes. They're good for a couple rushing first downs each week. That certainly helps move the chains. This is going to be a great game. Derek, be careful, though. You got Stormy sitting next to you. She's very sensitive. I'm saying.
It's true.
She's very sensitive when you talk about the 49ers.
All I've been having, Derek, is everybody saying, like, oh, Andy Reid off a bye, Patrick Mahomes as an underdog. Who's the better clutch quarterback? I know. I get it, okay? It's a tough life I live out here.
I like what John Hansen said, over with Debo. I mean, they run a lot of man with Kansas City, so I could see how Debo really has a standout game today.
Yes, certainly happy that he's healthy and ready to go, especially with Juwan Jennings not available in this one. Derek Stevens, you are unbelievable. Owner and CEO here at Circa Resort and Casino. The sports book is starting to fill out. It's going to be a party here at Circa for Week 7 in the NFL. We're going to continue our deep dive, breaking down each and every game for the final 45.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up Monday on Follow the Money, we recap a wild weekend in football. On Monday Night Football doubleheader, well, we know who's meeting in the World Series. Follow the Money weekdays, 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, the rest of the way, we are breaking down as many games as we can live at Circa Resort and Casino. The sports book's starting to fill up. I'm Stormy Bonantoni. Rich Gannon out in Minnesota, getting set for one of the biggest games of the weekend. The Lions and Vikings going head-to-head. A handful of really big games coming up, and some that on the surface might not seem like a massive matchup, but from a betting perspective, lots of opportunity, and that's what we're all about here. One of which I want to dive into, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns, Rich. And we've seen Cincinnati take some money here. They were bet up as high as 6.5. Did see some Browns buyback at 5.5. The Bengals have not fared well in the division, though. And for as little of belief I have in anything Browns and Deshaun Watson, I did find it interesting to see Cincinnati just 1-6 against the division since the start of last season. What are you looking at here?
What am I looking at, Stormy? That's how disrespectful. This is the Battle of Ohio, for goodness sakes. I love the Bengals and the Browns. Look, the Bengals defense had their best performance last week, albeit it was against the Giants. They held them to just 7 points. Today, they face another offense that's really struggling in the Cleveland Browns. But don't count out Cincinnati. All 4 of their losses have been by 6 points or less. I love what I'm seeing from Joe Burrow right now. He leads the NFL in passer rating. He's second in passing touchdowns. And they're going against a Cleveland offense that just simply can't get out of their way. They're a train wreck, mostly because of the issues they're having at the quarterback position. They're dead last in total offense, dead last in scoring. 30th in passing, 28th in rushing. They're the only team in the NFL that's yet to score 20 points. They're averaging 3.9 yards per play. And Deshaun Watson hasn't played well, but neither is their offensive line. They've allowed 31 sacks, which is the most in the NFL. Third down is a big part of the issue. They're converting 18%. That's the lowest percentage by a lot. And I feel bad for Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator. They're playing well on defense. They're just on the field way too much. Cincinnati is starting to roll right now. Their defense is coming around, and Joe Burrow is on fire. I really like the Bengals on the road.
Yeah, and a clean injury report for the Bengals as well. In terms of some player updates for Cleveland, Amari Cooper obviously gone. Jerome Ford is out. They did activate Nick Chubb for the first time, and safety Juan Thornhill is back. Plus, safety Grant Delpit cleared concussion protocol. Potential to get their starting center back as well, but I haven't seen an update there.
What an amazing story. Not to interrupt you, Stormy, but Nick Chubb, my goodness. I mean, think about this guy had a knee injury in college. He's had multiple knee surgeries. To repair this last injury required multiple surgeries. He was back on the practice field the last couple of weeks, and Kevin Stefanski says that he is going to play today. That is an amazing story. Good for Nick Chubb and the Cleveland Browns.
So quickly, if you want to go down that road, Rich, like what do you anticipate workload-wise that we're going to see from Nick Chubb in a spot like this?
I can't imagine very much. I just think it's a really feel-good story. This team is looking for a boost. Anything, Stormy, to help the running game and Deshaun Watson take some of the pressure off the passing game. But just getting him back out there, I think, is important for this football team.
Yeah, to your point, it is great that we have Nick Chubb back. Unfortunately, though, the Browns quarterback is still Deshaun Watson, and things aren't going great. You listed out a bunch of the stats against them. They're also 30th in the NFL in points per game, dead last in yards per game and the yards per play, as you mentioned. Again, 5.5 the spread there, total 41.5. And remember, if you want to put the VSiN experts to work for you, you got to come join us. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber. You can sign up for our VSiN Pro annual subscription today and get your first year for just $199 when you use our promo code for this show, Tailgate. That gets you full access to everything we do here at VSiN. That's the daily best bets, not only from Rich and I, but all of our show hosts, experts, and guests. Top-rated betting systems, 24/7 video access, the betting splits showing you where the money and bets are moving for every game. Plus, our all-new NBA betting guide is out now. Remember, use that promo code TAILGATE. That gets you your first year of VSiN Pro access for only $199. You can sign up today at vsin.com/subscribe. That's vsin.com/subscribe. And listen, we have talked about this next game a lot today, but it bears repeating because it is one of the marquee games of the entire day. We've seen a good bit of line movement back and forth between the 1 and 1.5 on the Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings. The total here, a higher total, 50.5. But the Vikings getting a little bit more of that buyback now after we were seeing so much Lions love. I'm still not sure what to do with this one. That's why, as I mentioned earlier, I have the Lions as a teaser leg. Although, Rich, let me tell you, the teaser's about to be dead, buried, and burned because the Patriots can't seem to get anything done here against the Jacksonville Jaguars with 7 seconds to go. We'll see if they can make some sort of a miracle scoring play for me to cover that teaser. If they don't, I'm going to do something to pair the Lions with another play because I like them so much as a teaser leg, probably with the Commanders. This is real life, guys. I tell you not to chase, but I'm probably going to do that in the teaser world today. I just got to be honest with you. But where do you sit on Lions-Vikings finally?
A lot of different opinions in this one, Stormy. As you know, we've been discussing it with a lot of our colleagues this morning. So I love this offense. Let me start with the Lions. I just love what I'm seeing from their offense. Third in total offense, fourth in rushing and scoring. They've got one of the best offensive lines in the league. I've been talking about this running back duo of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And of course, you look at what they've gotten from the quarterback position. Jared Goff playing as well as any quarterback in the league right now. His highest passer rating in a 2-game span in NFL history. So what he's done the last 2 weeks. Back-to-back 40 points in scoring for the first time since 1962. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, I think this is one of the best teams in the NFL. In terms of the Minnesota Vikings, it's been a really good feel-good story in terms of what they've been able to accomplish. One of just 2 undefeated teams. Minnesota was a preseason consensus pick, not only for last in the division, but to do so with a record below 500. They've survived a brutal opening season schedule. They're playing well. They've dominated teams early in games. They've got a plus 63 scoring differential. They've only been behind in 1 game. That was week 1. And their defense is top 3 in takeaways, points allowed, and sacks, and rushing yards per game. This is going to be a great game, a very competitive game. It's going to come down to the wire. It probably comes down to a kick. I just feel good about Detroit for some reason. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, I still think this is the team to beat right now in the NFC.
And Rich, because we have gone final with that New England Patriots-Jags game, the bet has been placed. We have adjusted. We have changed course. The Jags beat the Patriots 32-16. Win and cover is a 6.5-point favorite. You could, on the live line, gotten as many as 18 points with the Patriots, which would have gotten you that number if you were paying attention to any of the live lines today. Let's hit this Eagles-Giants game as well, Rich. I know you like the Philadelphia Eagles. You also have a prop play in this game. What's your perspective?
Yeah, when you look at the Eagles, they're a hard team to figure out, Storm. They don't look like a playoff team right now, despite having one of the better offensive rosters in the league. And at 3-2, you get the sense it's going to be a bumpy ride for the Eagles fans the rest of the way. But trust me, I'm from Philly, and if Nick Sirianni keeps arguing with fans, he'll be sitting with them sooner rather than later. Yeah. They got to get that straightened out. But Saquon Barkley returns to MetLife Stadium, where he spent his first 6 seasons. He's 4th in the league in rushing. I think he has a big day. I think A.J. Brown has a big day. He made his return last week from that hamstring injury. He went over 100 and had a touchdown. And you look at the Giants right now, despite the personnel changes on offense and Brian Daboll taking back the play calling duties, the Giants are still struggling to score points. They're 29th in scoring at 15.6 points per game. Daniel Jones, just 3-9 in his last 12 starts, including 5 losses at home. You think about home field advantage, it's not the case at MetLife Stadium for the Giants. That's a real problem. And injuries, we've been talking about the injury situation. They get back their best receiver, Malik Neighbors. They get back their running back, but they're without their best offensive lineman. They lost Andrew Thomas to an IR, to a foot injury. That's significant. And they still have no Kayvon Thibodeau. So to me, I really like the Eagles on the road.
And in terms of that total sitting at 42, you mentioned the lack of scoring for the Giants, particularly at home. They're 5-1 to the under this season, 3-0 at MetLife Stadium. They've scored just 1 offensive touchdown at home this season, which is crazy to think about. We have those pro picks if we want to throw those back up on the screen. Primarily Eagles love as well. Zach Cohen, Randy McKay, Adam Shine, Steve Fezzik all laying the 3 or 3.5 where that number was at. Just Chris Felica taking the points with the Giants. Harrison Sanford grabbing Saquon Barkley over the 2.5 receptions, and you and John Hansen both liking A.J. Brown in this spot. I have a couple prop plays here as well, with Malik Neighbors working his way back into the fold. I took him over 6.5 receptions. I know the number is high, but if there is a weapon for this Giants offense that Daniel Jones wants to get the ball to and trusts, it is him. And we saw before the concussion, he went over his receptions prop in 3 straight games. I think he's going to continue to get fed. And the approach for Daniel Jones as a runner, this is something that I genuinely definitely thought that they were not going to do this year with him coming off of the ACL. He's had multiple injuries with the neck and everything. I didn't think he was going to be running the football a lot. I was wrong, and he has been, and I think we can capitalize on it in a buy low spot on over 5.5 rushing attempts. I understand, as you mentioned, they have one of their best, if not their best, offensive linemen unavailable today, so maybe that's a problem for him running the football. I think it could actually be a good thing in that he's going to have to scramble a little bit with the protection lacking. So I like him over 5.5 rushing attempts. What do you think?
Well, Stormy, they've got designed runs for him now. You know, you think about a guy coming off of 2 significant injuries a year ago, but they've got some design runs, and you know when push comes to shove, he likes to pull it down and use his legs. So I really like that prop bet at 5.5.
He had 11 rush attempts in back-to-back games. He's averaging 7.5 attempts per game at 56 on 11 carries against Cincinnati last week. Other props for him in the run game, 27.5 is the rush yards number. There's an alt over at 30.5. And again, that over 5.5 rush attempts, the way that I am leaning. More games to come after this quick timeout, getting you set for week 7 in the NFL.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN's, the sports betting network.
You're watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
T-minus 30 minutes to kick off for the early afternoon games in the National Football League. Week 7 already underway. In addition to the Thursday night contest, we had the Jags and Patriots in London. Rich, that game is already in the books. The Jacksonville Jaguars win 32-16, win and cover as a 6.5, 7-point favorite, depending on the number that you got there. Had a 22-point second quarter and held on the rest of the way. How important was this win for Jacksonville and especially their head coach, Doug Peterson?
Yeah, it may have saved Doug Peterson's job, Stormy. You know, 2 desperate 1-5 teams. You look at what Jacksonville has done. It's been a real issue. Trevor Lawrence was 1-10 in his last 11 starts. And just, I think the running game is starting to help them a little bit. You look at Tank Bigsby, he had 118 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Going into the game, he was averaging 7.2 yards per carry, which was the best in the NFL. You know, you look at Drake May, when you can't run the ball with a young quarterback and you fall behind and you give up big plays in the kicking game, it makes for a long day. I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing from Drake May. Look at his numbers today, 26 of 37, 276 yards, and I'm sorry, 200 I think it was 200. I can't even read my numbers. Anyway, I'm sorry, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So I'm encouraged by the fact he's not turning it over. He's taking care of the football. But you got to help them, right? They're just not good right now up front. They're not good enough around them at the wide receiver position. And when you can't run the ball, right, you've got no chance. And when you're trying to develop a young quarterback. So we've got 2 teams I think are going nowhere fast, but the Jacksonville survives. Had they not won that game, Stormy, I think the owner, Shad Khan, was going to leave the team and the plane in London.
Well, especially you think about the comments from Shad Khan coming into this season saying that he felt this was the most talented roster the Jags had had in years. This start has been brutal. So an important win for them, certainly in London. You mentioned the Patriots run game. Drake May and Ramondre Stevenson tied for the most rushing yards for the Patriots, both with 18. That is not what you want to see. And just another reminder of the offensive line struggles we have seen there. Good news for public bettors, though, in terms of the prop bets here, because 3 of the top 5 most bet props ultimately come through. Tank Bigsby didn't score the first touchdown, but he did cash that anytime touchdown for bettors. He had 193 yards. He had 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence goes under his passing yards prop with just 193. The prop was set at 233.5. Drake May, meanwhile, goes over, as you just referenced. And I want to give a shout out because I was so down on myself for the Patriots not being able to cover the 12 for my teaser that I wasn't celebrating the fact that Drake May did cash my 2+ touchdowns prop. So we got there at plus 235. But see, Rich, that is the life of a bettor. And anybody listening here, is somebody who gets involved, who wants a sweat on a game. You are more upset about the losses than you are happy about the wins, even though we cashed a plus 235.
That's the way it goes, right? But, there's nothing better, Stormy, than sitting around on a Sunday watching all these games and, just trying to follow all the action. It's awesome. I love it. I can't get enough of it. I'm so excited for some of these games today. We've been talking a lot about some of these matchups. Even this Dolphins-Colts game has me intrigued. I love the Colts with Joe Flacco. I can't stand them with Anthony Richardson. We talk about the struggles that he has had. He's had a difficult time staying on the field and staying healthy. But he's completing just 50% of his passes. He's thrown twice as many interceptions than he has thrown touchdowns. And the Dolphins are getting healthy. They still don't have Tua, but they have a lot of team speed. And this Indianapolis Colts defense, they can't stop anybody. The 30th in total defense, 31st against the run, and 26th in scoring. I kind of like the Dolphins getting the points.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I took them plus the points and just Dolphins money line. I think they win this game plus 125. It's interesting you talk about the way that they are giving up the second most rush yards in the league, 7th most against the pass, this Colts defense. I am also hopeful from a fantasy standpoint that Devon Achane, now that he's back, he can have a good game. He's coming out of concussion protocol. I know it hasn't been great this season, but if there's an opportunity, it's today. You can get 50 plus rush yards for Achane at even money, but whether it's him or Raheem Mostert or Jalen Wright, I think that Miami can have a really effective run game in this spot. And it's so weird still, Rich, I don't know about you, looking at the prop market for this game and still seeing Tyreek Hill's receiving yards as low as they are, 57.5. His reception's still a higher number at 4.5. But the fact that you can get over 57.5 receiving yards and an anytime touchdown at plus 200 on Tyreek Hill seems unfathomable with the numbers that he's had with Tua Tagovailoa. He just has not had that success with anybody else at quarterback in a Dolphins uniform.
Nobody misses Tua Tagovailoa more than Tyreek Hill. Just one receiving touchdown this season, Stormy. He's just a shell of his former self. It's amazing when they paid Tua Tagovailoa that big contract. A lot of people were saying, "How could you pay this guy that kind of money?" My comment was, "How couldn't you?" When you look at how different this team is. Look, they're averaging 12 points a game. They're dead last in scoring. The Dolphins were averaging almost 18 points more a game last season with a healthy Tua Tagovailoa. He's getting close. I think we may see him in the next couple of weeks, but man, they really need some production and consistency at the quarterback position.
No question about it. Okay, Rich, why don't you cruise through some of your other best bets that you have coming up on the Sunday slate?
Yeah, I love Philadelphia on the road. I don't trust them yet in terms of what I'm seeing. It's a talented roster. They have underperformed on both sides of the ball. But I just think they're starting to get it together. A.J. Brown coming back last week is significant. Saquon Barkley going against his former team. I think he'll have a big day. And despite the fact that they've made some significant changes on the offensive side of the ball in New York, Brian Daboll has taken over the play calling duties. This is an offense that still can't score. They're 29th in scoring. They're averaging just 15.6 points a game. So I like Philly. And then you look at the Ravens and the Bucks. The over for 48 points. This is two of the most explosive offenses in football, two of the hottest quarterbacks in football. When you look at what Baker Mayfield has done, he leads the NFL with 15 passing touchdowns. And, of course, Lamar Jackson rushing and throwing the football. He's an MVP candidate. And I think two defenses that have really struggled in terms of the pass defense. So I really like that number at 48. And I mentioned A.J. Brown. Stormy, anytime I see A.J. Brown in the 70s for receiving yards a game, I got to get it. I got to have some. I love this guy. He's an explosive guy, whether it's man or zone. He's great after the catch. And Bijan Robinson is an interesting one. When you look at that number, his season average is 63, but Seattle has really struggled on defense here the last 3 weeks. They're giving up 35 points a game, and their run defense has been very suspect. So I like Bijan Robinson as well.
My fantasy football team name is Bed Bath and Bijan, and he has not lived up to expectations, so I need him to keep up the good work against this Seattle Seahawks team for sure. And I do have some investment in the Falcons today as well. I like their team total over 25.5, and I did an alt team total as well. That way I'm laying the juice in one, but I'm getting plus money on the other, hoping that both of them ultimately cash in this spot for all of the reasons you just laid out with the opportunity that this Atlanta team can have offensively. Also, we mentioned the win I have in pocket. So Drake made 2+ passing touchdowns, cashes at plus 235. The teaser with the Patriots did not. They could not cover the 12. But because the Lions had an adjustment in that last segment, I was able to get the Lions +8 in my teaser that we're trying to rebound here, pairing that up with the Commanders teasing down from the 9 or 9.5. Ideally, you can pair it up with that 9 so you get the Commanders -3, which I do have a same game teaser with them against the Panthers as well. Commanders -3 and taking the over 45.5. I love this Commanders offense. Everything that Jaden Daniels has done, one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the entire National Football League this year, despite being a rookie. I think they will have a lot of success against this Panthers defense. Meanwhile, their defense is struggling. They lost one of their best players for the rest of the season. And I think the Panthers with Andy Dalton, although they're not winning games, their offense is more effective. I also like David Montgomery, running back for the Detroit Lions, to have the first rushing touchdown for the team. He's had rushing touchdowns in 8 straight games dating back to last season. He's got 6 in 5 games to start the year, coming off a 2-touchdown performance against Dallas. He has scored the team, again, just for the Lions, not the game's first touchdown, but the Lions' first touchdown in 4 straight games, 3 of which, however, were also the first touchdown of the game. So I like him +215. What else am I missing here? Oh, and then those Giants props that I referenced earlier with Malik Neighbors over the 6.5 receptions and Daniel Jones over 5.5 rush attempts. All right, tell me, Rich, which of these plays you really don't like? Is there one that I put out there that you're like, Stormy, good luck with that one?
I'll tell you the 2 that I love, Stormy, I mentioned it. I think Malik Neighbors, for the Giants to have any chance he has to have a big game. He's healthy. He's coming off that concussion. Look at Daniel Jones. They're calling runs for him now. There's a couple in each game plan. Plus, he likes to pull the ball down and run. He's a very talented runner. To me, I love them. I guess the one I'm a little concerned about is that Falcons one. But I love me some Neighbors and Jones at MetLife today.
Love to see it. Hey, and by the way, if you are looking for action, our friends at First Bet have you covered. Sign up today to unlock exclusive promotions, plus watch and wager on hundreds of exciting horse races every day from across the country and around the world. I know it's football season, but it's horse racing season, baby. You can sign up at firstbet.com. That's first, the number one, ST, bet.com, and use our promo code VSiN200 to claim a 20% rebate for your first 60 days, up to $200. Head to firstbet.com today and keep it locked right here on the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show. Coming up after this commercial break, we are hitting on each and every game on the Sunday slate, getting Rich's rapid fire opinions with the hurry up. Don't go anywhere. VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show rolls on next.
In the heart of downtown Las Vegas, a sports oasis awaits. Stadium Swim, the ultimate outdoor amphitheater, built for the ultimate sports fan, with a colossal screen that brings the game closer than ever. Reserve a daybed, private cabana, or lounge in the center of it all. 6 pools to dive into as the game heats up. And the best part, there's never an off-season. Open 365 days a year. Stadium Swim, it's always spectator season.
Sean Green and Ryan Kramer bring an energetic approach to sports betting to keep you entertained while sweating your bets on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN.
There is something to the idea of the smart teams might be zagging. You see all the best offenses in the National Football League have a fullback.
If you like defense, if you like football, how can you not be okay with 2 high safeties?
Join Sean and Ryan every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN, right here on the Sports Betting Network.
watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, we are wrapping things up on the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show, getting you set for all things Week 7 of the NFL. We are T-minus 15 minutes from kickoff of the big games. We do have one final score set. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the New England Patriots 32-16. They win and cover any number that you wanted to lay with Jacksonville in this spot. Put up 22 points in the second quarter and just held on basically the rest of the way. However, Drake May did have a decent day, 2 touchdowns, 276 yards. He goes over his passing yards prop. Trevor Lawrence stays under with 193 and 1 touchdown. Big day. The connection to Tank Bigsby, who has 118 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Still plenty of action coming up today. From an injury standpoint, want to make sure we update you here while there were questions in Green Bay. While there were questions about Aaron Jones. He is going to be available ultimately today. Same thing with Kenneth Walker, who's celebrating his 24th birthday. He was dealing with an illness, but despite being questionable, he is going to give it a go today for hopefully a good birthday performance. Ray Davis is going to be available and active again this week, as is Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, and Josh Downs when it comes to that Indianapolis Colts wide receiver room. Lots of questions being answered there. Anthony Richardson will be playing quarterback in that one, despite the better numbers from Joe Flacco. I understand, though, you got to continue to get this guy reps and time and action. No Jonathan Taylor. We'll see how that is impacted. And also for the Tennessee Titans, Will Levis unavailable today, dealing with an AC joint issue in that shoulder. Not sure how long he's going to be unavailable after being questionable earlier this week. We get Mason Rudolph against the Buffalo Bills, and it has been one-way traffic taking the Bills in this spot. They are up to a 9.5-point favorite against Tennessee, total 41. Now, we know that those big favorites in the National Football League have not had a lot of success throughout the course of this season, but I think that number is probably rightfully at what it is. The other big favorite coming into today is the Washington Commanders, who continue to get steamed up themselves. They're out to double digits, so we do have a double-digit favorite today against the Carolina Panthers, total 51 in that spot. And I'm glad that I got the number when I did for my teaser, ladies and gentlemen, because I have the Commanders -3 and over 45.5 in that game as a same-game teaser. I also paired the Commanders with the Detroit Lions, who we've seen this number continue to toggle. 2 segments ago, the Vikings were a 2-point favorite. Now they're down to just 1 against the Detroit Lions, so we're seeing more of that buyback on the Lions. As we try to reconnect with our MVP, Rich Gannon, we're going to go through as many games as we can, so I'll just give you some of my thoughts here as we get set for kickoff, starting with the Green Bay Packers hosting the Houston Texans today. Houston on a 3-game win streak. The Packers are 4-2 off back-to-back wins themselves, but have yet to beat a team that is currently over 500. How do they fare? I love this matchup with 2 young quarterbacks in CJ Stroud and Jordan Love. Rich told us earlier on in the program he likes both of these quarterbacks to go over their respective passing yards prop. Jordan Love finally looked like the guy who earned all that money last week. Looked much more confident. You can tell he's healthy. Having a healthy Christian Watson is also big. But can he outduel CJ Stroud in this spot? I think he can, especially since Stroud is without Nico Collins. The Packers defense has 17 takeaways here already this season, 4 more than any other team. That said, Rich Gannon, as we have you on the phone, I know you like Houston in this spot. Take me through it.
Yeah, just getting Joe Mixon back, Stormy, I think is significant. You know, he was huge for the Texans last week. He rushed for over 100 yards. They had 142 rushing yards. C.J. Stroud threw for 3 touchdowns. But you know, look at Jordan Love, 4 passing touchdowns. The Packers rushed for 179. I think this is going to be a shootout. I really do. But the team I trust in crunch time are the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud.
Okay, let's keep going rapid fire. I just mentioned Kenneth Walker is going to be available for Seattle today. They're visiting the Falcons, and they are getting 3 points in this spot. What do you make of it?
Well, they're running the ball too much. I'm sorry, the Seahawks are throwing it too much right now. Then you start running it. You talked about the 2 backs. You know, I think that's going to be important when you look at what they've done offensively. I think the way you get to Atlanta is you got to get the cut. In a clean pocket, he's tough to beat. I just think the Falcons right now are playing too well on offense. I like the Falcons at home.
The Buffalo Bills from a 7.5-point favorite to 9 against the Titans. I also was saying how Mason Rudolph is going to be starting in that one. No Tajay Spears or Treylon Burks, who's on IR. The Bills get James Cook back. Ray Davis, we know, was excellent. They traded for Amari Cooper. The Bills are rightful large favorite in this spot, but do you think they can cover 9?
The line's changed because of the fact that Will Levis is out. I think with Will Levis out, I think Tennessee has a much better chance of pulling off the upset, but it'll take a special effort from their defense. I think the Bills are always tough at home, and besides Josh Allen has yet to throw a pick this season. I like Buffalo at home.
So we mentioned Amari Cooper being with Buffalo. That means the Browns are without their star wide receiver. They're also down Jerome Ford, but they did activate Nick Chubb and safety Juan Thornhill. The Bengals, a 5.5-point favorite in Cleveland, taking on that Browns team, total 42.
Yeah, Browns have lost 4 straight, and their offense is unwatchable. And to make matters worse, as you said, Storm, they moved on from their best wide receiver. The Bengals are struggling always on the road in Cleveland, but not today. Burrow is on fire, and their defense is playing a whole lot better. I like Cincinnati.
We've talked a ton about this Detroit-Minnesota game, and rightfully so. This number has toggled between 1 and 2 multiple times throughout the course of the show. Total is 50. Do you think that the Vikings can continue to win and cover?
Well, you got two of the best teams, not just in the NFC, but the entire NFL, because they're balanced and they play complementary football. Neither team makes a lot of mistakes, and both are well coached. I like the road team today, Stormy. I'm going to go with the Lions.
You like the Miami Dolphins. I like the Miami Dolphins. Tell the people why.
Well, two teams with quarterback issues. Miami not the same without Tua, and Anthony Richardson, I think, is an accident waiting to happen. Last in completion percentage, he's thrown twice as many interceptions and touchdowns. I can't, with conscience, take the Colts.
The Philadelphia Eagles are bringing Saquon Barkley back to MetLife Stadium to take on his former team in the Giants. I appreciate his thought that he's not going to get booed. Dude, you're getting booed. You like him to go over his props, and you feel comfortable laying the number with Philly?
Yeah, I do. Look, I need to see real improvement from Philly this next month if they're going to make a run in that division. Right now, they're just too inconsistent on both sides of the ball. But speaking of inconsistent, the Giants' issues on offense are the same. They still can't score enough points. I like the Eagles to cover.
I'm a believer in the San Francisco 49ers. You and Brent Musburger are not, because of the success that Andy Reid has had off of a bye and on rest. They are getting 2.5 points. We're seeing more bettors buying in on San Francisco. You guys aren't, though. Tell me more.
Well, listen, I got some good news for you, Stormy. Look, this is a Super Bowl rematch. We talk a lot about this one. If both teams can get healthy, we may see the 49ers and the Chiefs in New Orleans in February. Trust me, I love both of these teams. But no team is better at dealing with injuries than the Chiefs and Andy Reid, especially off a bye week. I'm sorry to say I like the Chiefs.
Come on. No Isaiah Pacheco, no Rashee Rice. Who's Patrick Mahomes going to throw the ball to? The big question today. I understand all of the love for Kansas City. I will just be rooting against it. Meanwhile, as we go from one NFC West team in the 49ers to another in the Rams, they're laying 7 against the Las Vegas Raiders. The total in this one, 42.5. This is a big number for a team that's only got that's got one of the worst records in football. They're 1-4 straight up and against the spread. Yet here we are. What do you think?
Well, things are a mess right now with the Raiders. They just traded away their best offensive player. That doesn't help their second-year quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, nor does the fact that they're 31st in rushing. The Rams have the better coach and better quarterback. Give me L.A.
How about this Washington Commanders-Carolina Panthers game? I already mentioned my affinity for the Commanders in the same game teaser I have in pocket, but Washington's out to a double-digit favorite now. Could that be too many against Carolina, or would you still feel comfortable with the big number?
I kind of like the big number. Look, we've got two teams heading in opposite directions. Carolina is an absolute disaster, while Washington is red hot on offense with their rookie, Chase Daniels. If the Commanders can improve, Stormy, on defense, we may see another worse at first in the NFC East.
Oh, man. Then, coming up tonight, Sunday Night Football, we've got the Jets and Steelers. For anyone who missed the news, Hassan Reddick, the holdout is over. He's not going to play today, but he will be back at the facility on Monday with an adjusted contract. However, Davante Adams will be on the field for the Jets today. This thing is moved out to Jets laying 2.5. The Pittsburgh Steelers getting 2.5, total 39 with Russell Wilson as QB1. Justin Fields, though, is expected to play some.
Yeah, no, look, this one is a can't-miss game for me. It's a bold move by Mike Tomlin to make this change, and the reason why is the pass game. They're struggling right now, 26th in passing, around 166 yards a game. They really feel like Russell Wilson can give them a little bit more juice in the passing game, but he's going up against a Jets defense that's been really good. They got good pressure on the quarterback. This is going to come down to the wire. But I like the Steelers at home. I feel good about their defense going against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
And you do have to feel for Justin Fields, who has 10 total touchdowns and just 1 interception. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes is 6-6. The Steelers are also tied for first place in the division, yet they're making a change. Okay, that's a wrap for us. Appreciate you hanging out with us on the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show. He's Rich Gannon. I'm Stormy Bonantoni. Thank you to our producer, Bill Wagner. Coming up next, stay tuned after our show for Live Bet Sunday starting at 1 p.m. Whether you already have tickets in hand or are looking for in-game opportunities, 7 hours of live NFL coverage followed by Ready, Set, Bet and Cashin' Out later on tonight.
VSiN's got you covered for the start of the season with our football special. For $175,